else who's not here? I didn't hear you. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to make an amendment, two amendments to the agenda. The first one, I would like to remove the compensation for the Canadian classroom. So any motion for that?
Also move.
Support.
Dan? Travis Neville?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Matt Lorchek?
Yes.
Yes.
I also would like a motion to amend the agenda to add the bid to upgrade the cameras at the high school. Okay, motion made by Matt, support by Rich.
Yes.
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 Okay, next we have the agenda approval of minutes. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of January 27th, 2025, regular meeting as presented.
Support.
Motion made by Matt, supported by Rich. Any discussion? Leanne?
Was that Travis or Rich?
It was made by, oh, I'm sorry, Travis. Two voices on the other side. Travis Neville?
Yes.
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 Okay, now the very best part of this meeting, the student of the month, with Marty Metz, who could come up.
Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be able to do this tonight because the girls' basketball team has other things going on. So Macy's our lady that usually gets this honor, but I get it tonight. So tonight we are going to honor 4 of our best and brightest, and we're going to start off with our freshman class. Miss Macy Morris wrote, "It has been a unique privilege for me to be able to have Diem in class this year. She is the epitome of a young lady who is mature beyond her years. One of my most favorite things about Diem is that you will not often find her complaining. She will instead find a way. This quality transcends her athletic and academic excellence, as it will serve her well in all of her life endeavors. Not only is she an avid problem solver, she is also the glue among her peers. Need someone to spearhead a project? Yeah. Need someone to make things happen on the court? Yeah. Need someone steadfast and level-headed? You guessed it. Yeah. She approaches every challenge with a fresh perspective, always thinking outside the box. It's her creativity that makes her stand out in group projects, where she has unique ability to bring ideas together. In sports, her quick thinking and adaptability are keys to her success. She handles challenges with wisdom and confidence, and absorbs any constructive criticism thrown her way with a nod and a will to improve. Beyond academics and athletics, she is as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. She carries herself with poise and is not boastful despite her very large amount of talent. It will be a great joy for me to watch her grow and evolve over the next 4 years, and I know that she's going to kill it with whatever she does. Congrats, girl. Next, we have our sophomore student. Dear Sheboygan Area School Board and community members, It is my honor to introduce Carly Hubby as your Sheboygan Area High School 10th grade January 2025 Student of the Month. I was in February. Carly has been enrolled in my 5th hour BAT class this year. As a career and technical education class, BAT demands technical skills, clear understanding of industry computer software, and sound attention to detail. Throughout the year, she has continuously strived to turn in quality assignments and continues to challenge herself to excel in this field. Carly is a very thoughtful and caring individual. She has a natural gift of being warm and inviting to her peers and is always willing to help others in class with their daily tasks. As she takes her academics very seriously, she is always willing to advocate for herself and seek assistance from me when needed. These traits will benefit from Carly within the first couple weeks of the school year and continue to grow stronger, which is why I believe she is so deserving of this recognition. It is always rewarding and inspiring as an educator to see the personal and academic growth of a student through their time at Sheboygan Area High School. Carly is exceedingly bright, empathetic, and a very driven student. It has been a pleasure to get to know Carly as a student and as a person. I wish her continued success through the rest of her time here at Sheboygan High School and beyond. That's from Mr. King. Next, we have our junior student. Linnea Diamond is in 11th grade, and it is my honor and privilege to have nominated her for the Student of the Month for January of 2025. I've had the privilege of teaching Linnea in a number of classes over the past few years, including U.S. history, world history, and AP government and politics. The main reason that I nominated her is because of her growth and her work ethic. When I first met her 2 years ago, she was a very shy girl who often second-guessed herself and was quite timid, especially during class discussions. This year, though, I have witnessed her come into her own. Just in our AP government's class alone, I have watched her stand up and dominate debates, run for class president, and put in an extra effort to know and understand the wide range of topics we cover. For example, I think she made roughly 500 flashcards for our first semester final exam in AP government. She's also a perfectionist. While she is sometimes too hard on herself, in my opinion, she always wants to know what she can do to do better. Whether it is immediately asking for the questions she got wrong on a test or a quiz, getting feedback multiple times on a paper, or simply asking for clarification on an assignment, Linnea's drive to succeed is unmatched. Overall, it has been a pleasure to watch Linnea grow from a girl who doubted her abilities and skills to one who is now confident, passionate, and ready to take on the world. When it came time to nominate a junior for Student of the Month, she was an obvious choice for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing her continued growth over the next year in whatever path she chooses for her future. That was from Mr. Yost. And now our senior big dog. Come on up here, Sean. Funny story, obviously I'm new to the district. Sean was one of the first kids I met here and made an immediate impact on me from day one, so this is really cool to be able to do this for you, buddy. So, Sean Kostrula is, without a doubt, a very easy person to nominate, and it was with great pleasure that I had nominated him for the Student of the Month for January. He's a senior in my dual enrollment English composition course, and I've had the privilege of witnessing his consistent dedication and growth throughout the year. He is a mild-mannered student. He is a mild-mannered student who brings a calm yet solid presence to the classroom. He works well in group settings, contributing thoughtfully to discussions and projects. His ability to collaborate with his peers is admirable, as he listens actively and shares insightful perspectives that elevate the group's work. What stands out the most about Sean is his strong work ethic. He is a diligent student who is always striving to improve his skills and understanding. While he may not always seek the spotlight, his commitment to putting forth his best effort is evident in the quality of his assignments and his continuous engagement in class activities. Sean's hard work and quiet determination make him a deserving candidate for this recognition. He may not always seek praise, but I wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge his persistence and growth throughout the course. He is truly deserving of all of these honors. Congratulations, Sean. Keep up the great work. And that was from Mrs. Sack.
If you are here in support of one of these students, I'd like you to stand and take recognition. We are going to do Inverness next, then we have one more after that. I just don't want any of those students to go anywhere until after we're through with all of it. So I'd like those people here in support for those students that we just recognized to stand up so that we can recognize you, because it does take a village.
Needed to make sure that everyone was here. Unfortunately, both of our recipients this month could not be with us, but that is okay. We'll go ahead anyways. So we typically only do one student spotlight because we have so few kids in our building. However, we had a really hard time picking this month between two very deserving students, so we decided to go with both of them. So our student spotlights this month are Emily Ronald and Mackenzie Martin. Both students have been with us since last year. I'll start with Emily. Emily is very kind, very warming presence in the classroom. She's also a very hardworking student. She greatly balances both going to school and also working a job as she works towards completing her high school education, which hopefully she will do this year. Emily does have plans to go into the child care profession once she finishes with us here at Inverness. Then there's also Mackenzie Martin, who, as I mentioned, started with us last year. She's also going to be finishing up this year. She is actually coming to us from Wolverine. She commutes to us in the morning. It's quite a far distance to come for school. That's probably about 20-30 minutes. So it's really great that she's coming out to complete her education, which she will actually be one of the first in her family to actually complete high school, which is a huge accomplishment for her. She's a very hard-working student. She's also very kind and having another warming presence, which you can obviously tell is one of the reasons why it was so hard to pick between just two of these students. Mackenzie plans on going into the mental health profession after completing her education. So those are our student spotlights this month. And unfortunately, we can't recognize them physically because they're not here, but it is great that they're getting recognized today.
I think if you could just hold on if you're recognized just till after this, and then after that, I would like you to meet with our tribute, our oh, and she would like to take a picture of everybody. Just want to make sure nobody gets away until after that. So, we have Ryan, the thing that he is going to showcase Lane Wilcom.
Ryan Clinic, representative for technical education. I'm here with Lane Wilcom and his parents here in the back of the room, who have much dedicated to his life and his education. So, I've only known Lane, I've known him for the last few years, but I've only had him in class for approximately 6 months. So I went out and reached out to our welding instructor who has had Lane here for 4 years. He gets the detail here on Lane. So between him and I, this is a little while. Lane has been involved in our welding program for the past 4 years. Even from a young age, his passion for welding was evident. He's always had a strong drive, particularly in shielded metal arc welding, or referred to as the stick process. Lane has dedicated countless hours of developing his welding skills in class. He consistently puts in more practice time and is never satisfied with his current level. He's always striving to improve. Over the past 4 years, Lane made it a point to come down to the welding shop whenever he had a free moment. Even if it was just 15 minutes, he would have his hood down and be practicing. His commitment goes beyond the classroom. He works on his skills both at home and on the job and working with his dad. In his junior year, Lane went out and bought his own welder from our Purity distributor and to just get extra practice at home. That's the level of dedication he brings to the craft. Not only is Lane an exceptional welder, but he's also a hard worker. His efforts have paid off this year when he placed first in a welding competition that him and his family took on to go to themselves at the Missouri Welding Institute in Nevada, Missouri. Lane is choosing to continue his education in pipe welding and enrolled in MWI because it was an excellent pipe welding program. After enrolling, he learned about this competition and the chance of winning that scholarship. With 300 contestants, Lane placed first, earning a full ride scholarship to MWI, valued at approximately $22,900. In addition, he also won a custom Lincoln Wrap Ranger 225 engine drive welder. I'm not sure what the cost on that one is, but it looks pretty nice gift. So this opportunity is not to set Lane up, and this goes from Mr. Fingbinger on his part in the future, but has also inspired other welding students. Mr. Fingbinger has seen a positive energy that Lane has brought to the shop and is sharing with fellow colleagues and classmates the hard work and dedication that he has delivered. So we'd like to thank Lane. I know this has been on the radio, I know I've seen it on TV, but this is the first board meeting we've had to say congratulations, Lane. We're proud to have you as a parent, or as a student, and your parents as parents, to keep you up the hard work. Okay? Just to finish, I've emailed each of the board members, but I would also like to personally invite you Thursday to our career expo, our career college expo. Have a good night. Thank you.
been tasked with trying to get a report together from the incident that occurred this past Monday and subsequently all the work that has happened since, and what are some of the corrective action and what are some of the plans moving forward. So hopefully I can do that. We're going to have a couple people that know a lot more about facilities present along with me instead of just me. So I'm going to talk here at the beginning a little bit about a couple different topics. Then we also have Pete Bush from Site Logic. For those of you who have attended board meetings in the past, we've entered into an agreement with Site Logic a year and a half ago, and they are leading the charge on our architectural designs and facility upgrades for the entire district. East Elementary being a big part of that. I think you guys know that $22.5 million was approved back in November through the bond election, and $10.5 million of that is dedicated directly to East Elementary renovations. So before we get too deep into that, also I would like Steve to come up here. I think most of you know Steve Fleming. He is our Director of Building and Grounds. He's essentially in charge of heating and cooling and all of that falls underneath that. He's been diligently working all week long, and a lot of the work that most of you are assuming are unaware of. So we want to make sure to get you up to date with the work that's been going on and the work that's still yet to go on. And then lastly, Deanna Dufton, who is the principal of East Elementary, is going to talk a little bit about how this impacts students, teachers, learning, and everything that falls under a building administrator's concerns. So she'll speak as well about that. So, hope this works. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for the feedback. We've been getting a lot of information via email, via phone, but ideally we set up a couple of meetings this past week that I thought the board and I thought were very good. We got a lot of information, and now our job is to filter through that information and create that plan for improvement. But a couple of meetings that we had last week is a faculty and staff meeting on Thursday after school to discuss concerns and issues and so on. I know Deanna has surveyed the staff on a couple of occasions. And then also, we were thankfully in a position to return to school on Friday. And I and Deanna and Steve met with the faculty and staff directly after school on Friday to see how everything went. Luckily, thankfully, everything seemed to go well on Friday. I didn't hear of any negative reports, concerns of weird odors or smells. So Friday went pretty well. And then the feedback we got from the teachers and staff after school that day confirmed that. Friday night, I see some similar faces here. We had a community meeting Friday night. And that is typical when you have a very sensitive situation as we did on Monday, because we knew there was a lot of people, and it was open to community members, not just parents. So I think we had close to 40 people there Friday night. And I think the meeting went from 5:30 to almost 7:30. So there was a lot of feedback, a lot of give and take. I know Mrs. Lohila, our school board president, was there. She took a lot of diligent notes, and a lot of that stuff is going to be passed down to me and to Steve and to Deanna and to our security committee, and make sure that some of our good ideas that have been presented to us actually come to fruition. So thank you for the input, and it continues, and we will continue to grow, take it, and learn from it. As far as from Friday night, there was a lot of stuff, we talked about a lot of things that had gone wrong this past Monday. There's a lot of finger pointing going on, and just for the sake of moving forward and in the improvement process, I'm the superintendent, right? And on Sunday, I sent out hopefully you got an opportunity, I sent out my Sunday soup, and in there I also made some comments about, I don't want to waste a lot of time on pointing fingers at different folks. You can point the finger at me, I'm ultimately in charge. I talked a little bit about that on my Sunday soup, and I'd just like to read a little section of that to you so that we can all be on the same page. But, It is my responsibility to lead not only good times, but also when we face challenges. I fully acknowledge that Monday was a very difficult day, and I deeply regret the things that did not go as planned. My priority is, and always has been, to ensure safety and security of our students. I recognize that we did not meet that standard on Monday, and for that I sincerely apologize. You entrust us with the care of your children each day, and we must earn that trust every day. Please know that this situation will remain mine, our top priority, and we will be committed to working tirelessly day and night to ensure your children's safety moving forward. Personally, anything less is unacceptable. And I think I echo those sentiments for the board as well. I don't think anybody is taking this lightly. With that being said, a couple more things before I turn it over to people that know a lot more than I do. But I'm going to have Pete Bush come up here in a minute because a lot of this stuff, Monday I think really shined a light on East Elementary, but I think most of you who have grown up here and been a part of this community, we all know that East Elementary was built in 1959 and has had a lot of issues for a long period of time. That's nothing new. I got here last year, one of the first things that I recognized was we got to do something, right? And there was conversations, for those of you, I see your faces here, that was here in the fall of 2023, we talked about shutting East down. That was a real conversation a year ago due to all the situations, many of those circling around air quality, right? But the decision was made to ask for a tax extension, and we were able to acquire, as I mentioned earlier, $22 million, which almost half of that is dedicated to East Elementary to deal with those issues. Heating and cooling, electrical, plumbing, those are all a main focus. And I'd like Pete to talk about that now because he's the one that kind of is the expert in that realm, knows a lot more than me. But it was real talk. And that facilities assessment that occurred a year ago, that assessed all of our facilities, is public information. We can get it to you if you can't find it yourself, but we can get that to you. So I'd like to introduce Pete Bush at this time. And you want me to set up your...
Yeah.
Here's my plug in. Let me see, where's that set? Yep, I'm in the right spot. So we click and drag to the right. And we have to, if it's not a full screen. There you go.
Well, again, I just want to introduce myself quickly. My name is Pete Bush. I'm a senior consultant with SiteLogic. We are a facility provider for K-12 schools throughout the entire Midwest. And I wanted to just quickly kind of give a little bit of a background on some of the work we've done with Spencer and Steve and the Board of Education. This is actually a title slide. I'll step back here. That, was when we actually gave the initial facility assessment review for the board back on February 23rd of 2023. My clicker will work. And there is just kind of a quick milestone. I know it may be hard to see, but as Spencer mentioned, we started talking in August, I think about a month after Spencer started, back in the summer of 2023. And through September and October, we did a lot of the initial assessment work in the district. We had our development engineers and our development architects go through every inch of the building, work with Steve and his staff to really identify the current condition of all of the systems within the district. And as I mentioned, in October, we did that initial facility assessment review. Throughout the fall into October, November, we also did some community sessions. We had a couple of evenings where we invited the community in to learn a little bit about that work and gather some feedback from the community on some of the things that they might like to see, not only at East, but throughout the entire district. We also did some surveys and went through workshop with the board on some ideas and some opportunities. And as Spencer mentioned, one of those things that we talked about was the potential of a new elementary school and what the realities of that and the cost of that could look like. But ultimately, we went into the fall in November. We did a more comprehensive report to the board at that time. And then in December, we entered what we call the workshopping phase. There was really about a 3 or 4 month period. We had a couple of days we had bad weather and had to cancel a couple of workshops and reschedule. But it took us about 4 months to get to the point where the board was able to identify their highest priorities, the highest needs in the district, meeting with the financial advisors to make sure that any type of a future referendum could meet those needs, but also be as fiscally responsible for the taxpayers within the community as well. The board ultimately approved the PQ application. First of all, State Treasury, we went with them on April 5th of 2024. The board approved that application and also did a resolution calling for election on May 9th of 2024. And then election day, of course, was August 5th of 2024. Once the vote was passed and successful, the next thing that the district's financial advisors do is they have to sell the bond to generate the resources in the fund. That bond sale took place in November of 2024. So that was at the point when the district could actually secure some of the resources to move forward with the design and work. And then we met with the district for a design kickoff on December 5th of 2024, which is just a couple of months ago. I just want to kind of go through a couple of things quickly. As Spencer mentioned, East Elementary is a 1959 building. There was an addition of 4 classrooms put on the building in 1964, and then there was also some additions put on in 1999 when there was a bond issue during that time frame as well. Then there was one small addition in 2001. As I mentioned, we go through all of the buildings within the district, and our engineers and architects give a grade on all of the assets within the building. So the flooring, ceilings, all the HVAC equipment, the windows, everything that's included gets a grade. And so we look at the age of an item and also the condition that it's in, so we can kind of give it an age-adjusted grade and identify for the district what their highest priorities should be. Now for East Elementary, this is a slide that really speaks to the age of the building. The things that are in blue, that is the average life expectancy of the systems within East Elementary. The orange would be the things that still have some life left. So if you see a blue bar next to an orange bar, it means that system still has some life expectancy and some quality condition left. The things that are in red were the things that were really what we'd say beyond useful life. It doesn't mean that they're not still working. Many times districts have systems that have been kept in very good condition and will work much longer than what's expected. And that's really a compliment to Steve and his staff in the district, that they're able to maintain systems and keep them functioning much longer than what they would originally be expected to. But at least the red gives the district an idea of these are the things that you really have to prioritize, because at any time these systems may not continue to function the way that they originally are. And so what we did is created kind of a chart for the board and the staff at East Elementary, and really looked at a couple of things that were priorities. The 1959 unit ventilators, they were original to the building. They're 65 years old. They have a useful life of usually 20 to 30 years. So they've really lived a good life in the district and are still functioning the way that they were intended to function back in 1959. They still work well. And in a minute, I'm going to talk about why maybe some of the challenges that the district has had with some of the air in the classroom, but they do function like a 1959 unit ventilator is supposed to function. The other thing is the controls that help Steve and his staff control. They are the old pneumatic controls. A lot of those are original as well. So by updating the controls, it gives a lot more digital output and information, so it allows the district to better maintain the equipment if they're upgraded to digital controls in the future. We also, with the district, we do what we call HVAC maps, so it helps the district identify what they have, how it functions, what areas of the building that it serves. For instance, the air handling unit in the cafeteria is also original to 1959, and that is one of the things that has been identified for replacement, whereas the air handling unit in the gym was installed in 1999 because that was an addition during that time. So we make sure that the district understands the current condition and the age of all of those things so that their HVAC system can function as well as possible. I also wanted to show some of the challenges, and this isn't just true to Sheboygan, this is really for all schools, especially in northern Michigan, and many of them were built in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. So we have these older unit ventilators that you see in a lot of classrooms around, and sometimes they become shelves. And people tend to put equipment or store things on top of the unit ventilator. And obviously, if it's supposed to take out the bad air and bring in the good air, those vents need to be open and available. So that doesn't always happen. It's not anyone's, it's just kids throw stuff on top, maybe teachers. So that is something that does happen from time to time. The other thing is when schools were designed, you would think sometimes the design may have been better 50 years ago, but the ventilation that brings in the outside air is many times near the ground. And we all know in northern Michigan especially, snow tends to pile up. So what happens in a lot of places is as snow drifts or things pile and cover that vent, it's not able to bring in the outside air that it's supposed to bring in, and that can cause it to be a little bit more stuffy in the classroom. So I know that Steve and his staff, again, they try to keep those open when they get a lot of snow. But this has been a winter where there's been a lot of snow in northern Michigan. To talk quickly just about indoor air quality and CO2, obviously carbon dioxide is normal in our society. It's everywhere. We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. So when you are outdoors, the normal ppm for carbon dioxide outdoors is usually around 400 parts per million. When you talk about going in indoor environments, because you're breathing out that carbon dioxide, the parts per million are going to be a little bit higher. Typically indoors, it's between 400 and 1,000 in most environments. And so when you talk about installing equipment to keep that air at a high quality, you try to get equipment that can take out the bad and bring in the good and continue to exchange that air to keep it in that range. What does happen from time to time is, especially when you put a lot of people in a small space, there's a lot of carbon dioxide that gets exhaled, and that causes the parts per million to increase. When you get into that 1,000 and 2,000 range, it certainly isn't dangerous by any means, but what it does is it creates stuffiness within the environment. It just makes people feel a little more lethargic, a little more tired, and I think we've all probably been in environments where, man, it just feels really stuffy. And it's because if you get a lot of people in a tight space, maybe even in this room this evening, the CO2 levels may be a little bit higher than what you would typically like. Obviously, as the CO2 levels get much, much higher, we're talking, in that $5,000, $30,000, $50,000 range. It really, or 50,000 parts per million, it really doesn't become a health concern until it gets extremely high. And there's not enough oxygen in the room. But as I mentioned before, if you look at some of the American government standards over here, 5,000 ppm is what is really recommended for an 8-hour workday. No one should work in an environment above 5,000 ppm if they're working for an 8-hour day. And it should not exceed 30,000 for a 10-minute period. Otherwise, it will get hard to breathe. And people that may have health challenges might have even additional.
Steve, can I ask you a quick question on that?
Yes.
We got a lot of input on Friday night, and there's been a lot of debate on what should be our goal, because Steve has the ability to control the intake of fresh air in all those rooms.
Right.
So the goal has been historically 1,500, but there's been some discussion, debate about it should be 1,000.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on what?
What is recommended, and again, like when we look at ASHRAE and a lot of different standards, that 600 to 1,000 range is typically a good range to shoot for. I'll show another chart in a second that really kind of speaks with it, because there are challenges, especially in schools, when you put 30 or more children and staff in a classroom for an extended period of time, the CO2 levels are going to go up during that period where there's a lot of people in that room. They go to lunch, they go to recess, they go to other times, and then allow the systems to kind of catch up at that point. But it is sometimes challenging for these older systems to maintain it at the level that you want to maintain when you've got a lot of people in that classroom for an extended period of time. Certainly we try to encourage schools, if you can get in that 600 to 1,000, that's great. 1,000, 1,500, it's not terrible, it's just going to start to feel a little bit more stuffy don't really feel like they can concentrate as well. This chart really shows the difference. I know it might be hard to see, but in white is 600 parts per million of CO2. And you'll see that in terms of cognitive performance. And again, this isn't really safety so much. It's just your ability to concentrate and think clearly. And in a school environment, we want kids to be able to concentrate and to think clearly. So the white kind of shows when you're at 600 parts per million, everything, all of these functions are pretty much in that very good and superior range. When you get into that 1,000 parts per million, you'll see that some of these things begin to decrease a little bit. It's not substantial yet, but again, you're starting to create an environment that it is a little bit harder maybe to concentrate and not as comfortable as it is when you've got that better air exchange. When you get 2,500 and beyond, that is the black where you really start to see people feel lethargic, tired, not being able to concentrate as much. Again, it isn't like it's hard to breathe, it's just hard to learn. And so really we try to encourage schools, you know, if you're getting to that 2,500 range, you really need to look at some potential solutions. It might be just setting it to bring in more fresh air, especially during the periods of the day where there's a lot of kids in a room for an extended period of time. But if you've got newer systems and newer digital controls, it is a lot easier to do that than if you have older systems and these old pneumatic controls where you really can't get a quick readout of what is the current CO2 levels in a classroom. I keep hitting my clicker thinking it's going to work. It's just not going to put it down. The other thing I wanted to show real quickly was just, this is a typical classroom. And you know, when you come in a classroom in the morning, the air system has been working, and typically the parts per million of CO2 is at a pretty low rate. It may be at that 400, 500, 600 rate, but as kids come into school and staff comes into school, it usually tends to peak and valley a little bit throughout the day, depending on, again, our kids in the room, has the system had a chance to catch up. But normally after lunch, and I think we all probably can attest to this as former students, you've had lunch, you're back in the classroom, everybody's, you know, they've had their recess, you're back there. The hardest time to concentrate is in the afternoon after lunch. It always seems to be. The other, you know, thing is that's when we typically have more maybe behavior problems in classrooms in the afternoon. And a little bit of that is because CO2 levels tend to rise as kids get back from lunch and sit in that classroom for a few consecutive hours of the day. And again, it isn't that this is getting into a dangerous level. It is up in that 1,500 range. But then obviously as the school day ends, the systems are able to recover and get that CO2 level back to the level that we'd like it to be. But again, that's just a kind of a typical classroom. And that is an actual reading. Sometimes we put these monitors in the classroom for the entire day so we can get a good read of what's happening in that space. One other thing to consider is just, you know, the standards for indoor air quality, how they have changed over the years. Back in, I'm going to put all these arrows up here quickly. Back in, this is 1960, and the outdoor air per person rate that ASHRAE, who was one that's kind of set these standards, recommends that it was at a 10. And in time, as we got into the 80s and into the 90s, there actually a little time where the standards went down, and then they started to go up again. And they've continued to go up over the years, to now in the 2020s, the indoor air quality standards are about 2.5 times what they were back in the 1960s. So that when we go into buildings and we make recommendations, we need to make recommendations based on today's ASHRAE standards. But for example, the equipment at East was put in at a time when that was the standard that you were trying to meet. That's why that equipment was probably put in at that time, because it was going to help you maintain that level. But now over time, as you upgrade, you're going to look to put in equipment that's going to get to this level and try to keep things, you know, it's going to be much easier for the equipment to keep up than the equipment from 1950.
Pete, I got another question.
Yes.
During COVID, post-COVID, a lot of school districts purchased air purifying machines. I know that the school district here did the same. If you walk throughout East and all of our classrooms, there's a lot of those air purifier machines. Does that have any impact on this information, or is it Just
Well, I mean, a lot of what happened during COVID was making schools more aware of changing their filters in their systems as well. And those air purifiers, they just kind of send air through those filter systems, and they try to filter out some of the things in the air, especially things that could cause, sickness. There's a lot of flu in your room. It helps kind of reduce the levels of the infection rates. It isn't necessarily something that's going to change the CO2 levels too much, but it certainly is going to, from a COVID perspective, will maybe help reduce the transmission of illnesses within the room. One other thing is that what we have found, and again, this is through many, many studies that have been done, is as schools increase the outdoor air ventilation in the classroom, you also typically see improved student performance over time. This is probably, for our company, one of the big selling points when it comes to improving your systems, is that if you want to improve student learning, you really want to improve the environment in which they learn in, so that it really creates that environment that allows kids to pay attention, to concentrate, to learn, and to not be distracted because the room might not feel the best that they can feel. So, and then as Spencer just mentioned, the higher ventilation rates also will reduce the spread of transmission, of infectious diseases like the flu and the common cold, and things that we see in schools all the time, especially in the winter months. This is the actual CO2 plan that we shared with Spencer and the board back in October of 2023. And what we do when we come into a building in a district is we go in and we want it to be on a day where it's not super warm outside, because we do want these schools' heating systems to be working as they normally would. We don't want windows open. We want, say, in a normal environment on a day when it's 40 degrees or 50 degrees outside, the boilers are working, the heat's working, the air exchange is working, and you have kids in the room. We want to give you an idea of what the levels are. And again, these are just snapshots. And one of the things I will point out, there was one room at that time that did have their CO2 level over that 2,500 range at that moment. But the bottom number here is also the number of students and staff in the classroom. And it is very telling that in that space at that time when we did that reading, there were 35 kids and adults.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Can you tell how much is in each room or the building?
We put our CO2s in.
No, right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, right now, like today?
As the teachers are in the room, the kids are in the room, can you tell each room how much is in that room?
I mean, there's a way that it can be done, yeah.
Is it done?
Is it done?
Now.
I'm not-
So the hallways again, and they have a lot of in one room, but the kindergarten area has nothing. Can you tell that room has something bad in it?
Can we tell if there's a higher CO2 level in the classroom?
In that one room?
There is as long as we're doing the readings, yes.
No, right now, not while you're doing the reading. As each teacher, can you tell today, can you tell me tomorrow, if I said, sir, can you tell me how much is in room 206?
If the system is set up with CO2 readers to do that, yes.
But is it?
No, the current
It's not
system
right.
is not. The current system, one of our proposed changes is that we put a system in that will have a constant measure of CO2 that will connect direct, and Steve will talk about this in a minute, that will connect directly with Steve's computer so he can adjust airflow from sitting at his desk. But currently there is no constant CO2 mechanism reader. Now I will tell you that also the teachers, we are purchasing a portable. They're not real expensive. They're also not necessarily real reliable, but portable CO2 readers so that every teacher can have one in their room so that they can feel confident to walk over and look at it if they suspect the numbers are. But those have been ordered. I believe Deanna's going to talk about that we have ordered them, right? And Steve is working on a constant assessment tool for CO2. But right now, no, we can't. There's nothing I can't look at my computer and say, classroom, blah, 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 the CO2 levels like this.
Thank you.
That goes back to the updated unit then.
I thought the Ben Q's were supposed to be able to tell us what the
You know what,
ratings are.
I would like
That's
the
what we were
comments to wait until there's public comment. Right now, we need to hear the presentation and we need to see all the information because some of these questions will be answered as we go through. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say, the value again plan of updating the systems and going to digital controls will allow the district to know at a moment on their computer, on a phone, let's say, what the CO2 levels might be, but the current system doesn't have that capability. And I know you can't read this at all, but this is just an example of, as Spencer mentioned, there's between $10 and $11 million of improvements that are going to be made to East Elementary School, starting in either late fall 25, summer 26 is when most of the work is going to be done. You kind of see over here, project year, was we were doing all the planning. 2026 was the year that we really felt was going to be the right time to be able to get into the design process, get design complete, get out to bids, so we can get competitive bids for the district. And as you know, schools do the majority of their work in the summertime when students are not in class. And so I know it would have been very nice to maybe do some of this work in the summer of 2025, but with an August bond issue, with a November bond sale, and with a December design kickoff, there really wasn't enough time between December of 24 and let's say June of 25 when school got out to get through all the design process, to get everything out to competitively bid it and line up contractors to do the work. Many contractors line up their work 6 to 9 months ahead of time, and we want to get competitive pricing from the district. So that the summer of 26 was really the first viable option to do the level of work that needed to be done at East Elementary. And that's it for me.
Are there any questions from the board before we move on to the next president presenter?
The upgrades for the HVAC, is that going to increase your CSI for students?
Yes, yeah, they'll be installed and they'll be able, and Steve obviously with digital controls will have the ability to make adjustments, but they'll be designed to meet today's ASHRAE standards when it comes to that air exchange and that outdoor air.
All right, thank you, Pete. Steve is going to talk a little bit more about what's actually happening, what's been investigated, and what is yet to be investigated. So I have a couple of slides, I think. Let's see. I know Steve has his own notes as well. Yeah, this is you. So take over, Steve. It's all yours.
All right, first of all, I'd like to apologize because I was at a district Monday when this happened. And I was unreachable Monday until the evening. So when I found out about this incident, I immediately returned to district Tuesday and been investigating and taking action since. The first thing we did Tuesday was city fire chief arrived with DTE Energy because there was false reports stating that there was carbon monoxide in the building. So there's only 2 places in the building where carbon monoxide can be present. That is the boiler room and the galley. Nowhere else. Those 2 areas have alarms that alarm isn't there was presence. But we did call DTE Energy and the fire chief. We inspected those. There was 0 evidence of carbon monoxide ever being in the building. Once that was done, I called Michigan Mechanical. They do all the maintenance on our HVAC system. They did a thorough inspection of all the equipment and measured the air intakes. They gave me a recommendation to open the air intakes on the unit ventilators when there's bad air quality. So this week I've been messing with that, increasing airflow in certain rooms that have high CO2. It's been working. I'm looking at the results today. I still have a couple of rooms I need to work on to increase airflow. So my goal is going to be 1,000. There's a couple of rooms we did get down by increasing the airflow. So I will continue to do that. I also called our environmental consultant, Nova Environmental. They did a air quality test for CO2 in each room before students were there, when students were there, and in the afternoon. I believe we have copies of that available for anybody. They will be in the building tomorrow doing testing the air for mold in the building. So they'll be there first thing tomorrow morning to be doing that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why mold has not come up at all, right? So that has not been an issue since. Why are we testing for mold tomorrow?
We're trying to rule out everything possible.
Okay.
I called the building inspector, the county building inspector, the electrical inspector, and a local electrical contractor to also do an inspection of the building before we let students back in, and they all gave the thumbs up to do so. During the building inspection, did find the custodial closet where we store our cleaning chemicals didn't have the proper exhaust ventilation, so I immediately called a local contractor and they installed it within hours. So grateful for their rapid response on that. And during all the investigations of this, we had another person absent on Monday. We had our custodian was out, so we did have a sub-custodian in there. The night custodian doesn't usually work in mornings, and he didn't know to clear the snow in front of the unit, so he did that with the tracker once kids were in the building, and that will never happen again because I spoke to him about that. We did have a recommendation to improve air quality, so each unit vent will be installed with a CO2 reader. So I will be able to see the CO2 readings from my computer. I'm going to have it set up so when the CO2 reaches a certain level, I'll get a text message and an alert on my email. The building principal will also. And the unit vents will automatically open to the proper level to increase airflow to get it below a certain level, then they'll go back to the normal state. So that is an improvement we're going to do ASAP. I had a contractor working on this over the weekend, and I provided the board the quote today, and we're going to try to get this installed as soon as possible. When I say as soon as possible, I mean the next couple of weeks.
Right, yeah, what is the timeline? That you got to order this? It has to be installed correctly?
Yes,
right?
they could do it, and they're going to try to do it so we don't interrupt any classroom behavior, or we're going to do it in the evenings. So we're going to work on the evenings and weekends to get this done. So I anticipate it happening in the next few weeks. All right, so to continue this, we're going to continue to investigate and monitor. Today we had a teacher report a smell, a burning smell. So we immediately, I was actually in the building when that was reported. We went into the unit called our maintenance tech. We pull out the cover to the unit vent, and we found that the unit vent motor had a lot of vibration to it. The fire chief was there also. We noticed that the motor was abnormally warm. So a bearing went bad in this unit vent motor. So we immediately changed out the motor, and the vibration went away, and it was back to normal operating conditions. I believe that's all I have unless the board has anything else.
We have Don is our fire chief. I know he came here tonight. We've been working with Don all week long. I know you and Steve have worked hand in hand. Is there anything, Don, you want to add to what Steve has talked about, what we've done, what we continue to do this week?
No, I think you pretty much covered it all.
Okay. Thank you for being here, by the way. I appreciate all your help. Does the board have any questions for Steve?
Controllers to get more air being automated and all that, but snow still blocks the vents. That doesn't help.
No, this week, so the custodian's on there in the mornings. He clears that at 4 a.m. So he takes the tractor and clears all the unit vents at 4 a.m. to clear that.
And you've got backup people trained now.
Yes.
Properly.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the custodian on duty some custodians didn't know to do it, and then he was notified at around 8:30 to clear the vents.
Now, you just mentioned that the CO2 sensors that you just got approved and ordered today are not going to be installed in working order for a couple of weeks, correct?
Correct.
So what are you and Deanna going to do every day to ensure, to test, to make sure, I think we talked about this, right? This morning you and I met at 6:30 and you went around and tested every room.
Yes, I provided Deanna a CO2 meter. It's a pretty nice piece of equipment. I also have one. So every morning I do a reading before students are in the building, and then I do a reading when students are in the building. In the afternoon, we also do a reading. And we've been logging this information too.
What kind of calibration program do you have?
So the original piece of equipment was, my maintenance guy looked at his truck, and he leave these things in the cold environment and he recalibrated. So he wasn't properly trained on how to use it. He used it mostly for temperature readings because it actually displays the humidity and temperature in a room. So that's pretty much why he had that, is to measure, when we have a room that's really hot, we'll go in there and say, well, the thermostat system. He used it to verify temperature. So he left it in his truck, so he never leave those things in the cold. So when I came back to district on Tuesday, I noticed that the outside air was 900 ppm, and that's, unless you're in Los Angeles, you're not going to get 900 air ppm. reading, so I immediately pulled the manual out, had it recalibrated. Then I verified it with Nova's equipment, and it was spot on with Nova, so it is calibrated up to the standard. They should be calibrated yearly according to the manual, unless it's a battery.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, the best way to calibrate your machine is to walk outside, because outside should be somewhere between 400 and...
Well, there's a procedure on, that's how you verify by outside, but you do, when you start the calibration process, you do it outside.
Definitely has a question.
At the meeting on Thursday with the East Elementary staff, I remembered a comment that was brought up. I remembered it this morning. Someone mentioned identifying the smell. Have we looked at sewer gases?
Yes, so the fire chief actually, this 4-gas meter measures hydrogen sulfide, the meter does, and that's sewer gas, and his readings are from 0.
Because I remember you spoke something about there's a drain somewhere, then if it gets dry.
Oh, that's there's a teacher that has his room used to be an art room, so it has a trap, and then the sink, and when a trap dries, it has a bad smell to it.
See, and you are ordering or have already ordered apparatus that tests those gases?
Yes, I ordered a 4-gas analyzer that does test for hydrogen sulfide and other gases also.
So we will be able to regularly do that as we go through this process of reading.
Correct.
Just another question. So if I'm hearing you correctly, by monitoring the CO2 levels and your ability to adjust the airflow into the buildings, our goal is now 1,000, right?
Correct.
Could be a difficult goal, like he pointed out, at 2 o'clock, but still that's our goal. So our air fresheners, our systems can be calibrated to bring in the proper amount of fresh air to try to accomplish that goal, right?
Yes, I can increase the
Can you talk a little bit about how you do that with the percentages, right?
Okay, so they were originally set for 10%, which is a recommended air. So what it does is it brings in 10% outside air until recently. So recently I increased it to 15% in certain rooms, and then 20% in certain rooms, and then today I moved a couple up above 20%. When I did move them up above 20%, the levels dropped significantly. So I think I'm going to have to do that to all the rooms. What might happen though is when we're in extreme cold days, like when we're below 0, the heater may have issues catching up. I won't know until that happens. But right now, today was a perfect day. Everything, the heater was kept the rooms at the proper temperature, and everything was working properly.
Any other questions for the board? All right, thanks, Steve. Deanna, I know Deanna, I see her back here somewhere. That's part of our presentation. I see
developing a building safety committee at East. It will focus on, specifically on our needs. And then that team will report to the district safety committee as well in order to, whenever that's appropriate. That will include going through the current emergency response plan and addressing the lack of protocol for adverse air quality, as well as anything else that this committee finds we need to add or modify as we look into that. Another thing that I am committed to is improving communication to all families and staff. So using the voice message, the same that I use on my Sunday messages, where I can record my voice. That way it doesn't matter the length of the message. I could talk for an hour on there if I wanted to. I won't, but I could. And using the text option, if it's a short message, I can send it text, but it will go to everyone. I understand that some are not able to get into the rooms, editing, so important communication that needs to get to every family will go on the voice message or via a text. If it is an individual, something I need to talk with an individual family about, it will be a phone call directly to them. Rooms will still, keep an eye on rooms still for just those general announcements. If we send a flyer or, something the teachers have planned in the classroom, maybe you can use that rooms app still, so don't forget that that is there. Consistent plan and communication to staff when I am out of the district. Staff will always be informed who's taking my place while I'm gone. Emergency plans will be readily available. Physical plans will be readily available to all staff or any individual who might be expected to make decisions in my absence. This will include a well-thought-out chain of command with specific people to call and those phone numbers in case of an emergency. The next slide. You should just hit the space bar. For the future, we are, within the next month, as Steve mentioned, we are going to be installing CO2 monitors on the HVAC systems that will automatically introduce that fresh air once the CO2 level gets at a certain point. So as of right now, this minute, we take readings, and if the reading is higher than we want it, we alert Steve, and he opens up the air to allow more fresh air in. We will be getting that system that will automatically send that alert so that we can do that. That'll make it a lot easier. We are planning to upgrade the HVAC system as part of our remodel and addition plans. And as a district, we will be exploring and updating school policy and emergency plans at the district level as well. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, when will those monitors that are like in the meantime until the system is installed through the state, when will those be in the classroom?
Within the next couple of days, I'm hoping it should be here.
Anybody else have questions? I have one question for you, and I know, what? You had a scare today, right? This morning, very similar to the same scare you had last Monday. But today, with a much different result, right? I think a lot of things went better today than they did last Monday. Why is that?
Well, number one, it was fresh in our minds, and we knew exactly, what needed to happen, who we needed to have present to check on the situation. I'm thankful that they found something that needed to be addressed and addressed it immediately. We had two
check everything out and make sure that everything was okay, gave us all peace of mind, and gave us the go-ahead that school was safe for students to be there. So, I mean, everything checked out fine, thankfully. But I did alert the families today, and hopefully everyone got that. And if for some reason you're not getting those, please let me know, reach out to me so that we can figure out why. Or, if that communication needed to be different. I also like to get your input on those things as well, so reach out to me if you have any input on that.
Is there any other board members have questions?
I have one more question. Today, this afternoon, I received a link from you. Is that link going out to all parents? Is that possible?
That link went out in a text message after school today. There's a change that I was asked to do, and I will add the teachers' names instead of the route number, so it's easier to read the location. So I will make that change.
Yes, and so those will go out daily or?
That is a link that they can reuse, and I will continue to add to that sheet.
Okay, so they can.
So each week, at the bottom, there's a tab for each week. So you just click on the week of, and it should pull up that week.
Okay, any other questions for Deanna? I wanted Marty to show you guys, just I know there's a couple questions. This is the CO2 reader. The problem with some of the validity of, I talked to Jordan this morning, he's got to call in to take a look, do a deeper dive. We have really old BenQs, and we got a bunch of brand new BenQs. What we're finding is that the old BenQs are not giving us a valid CO2 reading. But what Marty just did, and as quick as he just did it, he can pull up a CO2 reading in this BenQ that's saying in this room is 478. We don't have 100% confidence in this because we don't know who has old BenQs and who has new BenQs. So we're investigating that. And until we know, we're going with the CO2 sensors, and we are going with the portables in every classroom. And until those happen, I know Steve is going to do a pre-student reading, and then Deanna's going to do a post-reading every day until we get those CO2 sensors here. Okay? Any questions about BenQ reading? This is the last call for board questions. If the board doesn't have any other questions, what we'd like to do is we've added a public comment specific to this situation that we're dealing with. So if you don't have any, Julie, it's all yours in regards to public comment. I will say, based on, I believe, on policy, each person who would like to make a public comment has 5 minutes to do so. It's a comment, not a discussion. And if there is a response that's needed, it will be up to the board president to assign who and how to get you that response if there is a response needed from the comment. Is there anything else?
I think you covered just about everything
Oh, I'm
that I
sorry,
wrote
Ms.
down
Dewey.
right here. That's all right. And I just want to say that the board takes your concerns seriously, and although we will not respond to your concerns, I will make sure you have an opportunity to meet with the staff member who can best answer your questions. So I am going to write that on these papers that have to be turned in order for you to speak. So if you have not given me one already, when you come up, please hand it to me so I can keep track of it easily. So
accountability. This was a near miss. We are incredibly lucky that the outcome was not far worse. As parents, we trust this district to provide a safe learning environment for our children. That trust has been shaken. The handling of this incident has been defined by a lack of clear, consistent communication. On the day of the event, parents were left in the dark and critical information was not effectively shared among staff. Conflicting messages persist, with school app updates focusing solely on CO2, while media statements claim CO2 was not the issue. These contradictions fuel frustration and erode trust. I do want to thank and commend Deanna for how she has taken on ownership and moving forward with this. Her compassion is one of the reasons that I am personally able to put some faith back into this district. We are still searching for clear answers. Parents attended the Friday town hall expecting some explanations. Instead, we were met with somewhat of a lack of preparedness and some shifting explanations and timelines. That was not just disappointing, it was kind of disrespectful. Transparency should not be a battle. The district should have come to that meeting ready to account for the decisions and the events of that day. We deserved better, and we still do. One of the most alarming questions remains: why wasn't the fire department and gas company the first call? When an unidentified odor causes symptoms, emergency management best practices dictate that trained fire and gas utility professionals assess the situation immediately. The fact that this did not happen raises serious concerns about decision-making and preparedness. Since then, we've been given a rotating list of explanations: diesel tractors, dust. Now we know that at least one unit required repairs after an odor was detected again. Yet none of these explanations fully account for what happened on February 17th. Due to a lack of proper emergency response that day, we are left with speculation instead of definitive answers. The ventilation issues in this building were already well documented. We saw it again today in 2023. SiteLogic's air quality assessment found that nearly all classrooms exceeded the ASHRA recommended CO2 limits for schools. This means the district knew there was a problem long before February 17th. The issue that day was an unidentified odor, meaning CO2 was unlikely to have been the direct cause. However, CO2 levels serve as an indicator of the overall air quality and ventilation effectiveness. The fact that the school consistently tested above recommended limits means the risk was already present. To make matters worse, we've learned that the district's handheld gas meter was not working properly at the time. Failing to maintain and properly train staff on safety equipment is unacceptable. The negligence directly impacted the ability to assess and address this situation. Data provided on Friday and again today underscore that ventilation continues to be an issue in this building. Ventilation deficiencies must be addressed immediately. This is not just about what happened on one day. This is ensuring long-term air quality and safety for students and staff. The district has convened a safety committee, which includes first responders. That is a necessary first step. But at the parent meeting, we learned that the committee did not specifically discuss East Elementary, nor does it include staff from that building. Additionally, healthcare professionals should be engaged in developing an environmental safety plan and as part of the safety committee. The district already has a partnership with Thunder Bay Community Health. That partnership should be leveraged to analyze whether students and staff at this school have higher rates of chronic respiratory conditions than the general population. The data is critical in assessing the long-term impact of air quality issues, not just on February 17th, but every day. Leadership is not just about making decisions, it's about owning the outcomes of those decisions. The decisions to reopen the building should have been based on verified air quality data, not a staff vote. Parents deserve to know why teachers were asked to vote on reopening instead of relying on objective safety assessments. Why was this treated as a matter of opinion rather than one of safety and data? I do not expect that anyone will stand up and say, it's my fault. Legal counsel would like to advise against admitting fault to minimize liability, but parents in this district expect accountability and honesty. Protecting the district from liability must not take precedence over transparency. We need a full, independent incident audit that outlines when and how this issue was first identified, who was informed and at what time, what actions were taken, and whether or not they followed safety protocols or reasonable judgment in their absence. This audit cannot be conducted internally. The district cannot investigate itself and expect public trust. Parents will not accept an internal report that amounts to, we investigated ourselves and found we did nothing wrong. At the end of the day, we may never get a perfect answer about what happened. But one thing is certain, something happened. This was not mass hysteria. This was not shared hallucination. It was a failure of process, communication, and accountability. Our children were kept in cold, crowded classrooms. The response was disorganized. The explanations provided do not fully account for what occurred, and parents were left in the dark. This isn't about assigning blame. This is about ensuring that the right measures are in place to prevent this from ever happening again. I ask leadership to spend their workdays in the environment alongside our children, the children and staff. If you don't feel comfortable spending your days there, how can you expect the same from them? And know that as parents in a community, we're not going away. We will keep pushing because our children and the staff in that building deserve nothing less. We deserve transparency, we are owed accountability, and we will not stop asking questions until we get it. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing that I forgot when Jen went up there, and I apologize to everyone to have start this after Jen, I do a dinner information in front of you, but one of the things that is supposed to happen when you start is your name and also your address.
Do you want to hear it now?
Sure. Thank you.
Kevin Lindholm, 2941 Hand Road. Got 2 kids in that building, 1 in another, and hopefully we're going to be in preschool next year. So,
Adrian Olusky, 5483 Long Lake Road. I'm here today because I have a son who suffers breathing issues due to tricuspid regurgitation, who was left in that building with high heart rate as is normal. One of the signs of CO2 is a high heart rate. When children were taken to the ER, they were reported as carbon monoxide poisoning, which led to the lack of them even testing for what the concern was, which was the carbon dioxide, which means multiple kids could have been in there with high levels and we wouldn't know it. As shown here today, the qualities since 2023 has been a concern, yet our top priority is to transform the East Elementary into a preschool versus fixing the issues at hand. The cost of going into, let's attach these CO2 detectors to the HVAC system that we know has failed us, the system that is 40 years past its life expectancy, so how much money are we going to put into this CO2 in hopes that it will perform to a better level versus just replacing it? The risk that every child and staff member there that day experienced is worth more than, let's think about additional money and opening a preschool instead of thinking about the kids that we have there today. Not to mention, with opening the preschool, we're going to open 2 classrooms that were previously, we were meant to open prior to any of this discussion of, well, when they open, then 2nd grade has to go to the middle school, 7th grade has to go to the high school. We're now increasing the levels of bodies in our buildings that we are proving cannot support the amount of people we have in them now. So I think more time needs to be spent and versus just pushing. I don't know if anybody else watched the board meeting on we need to vote on the preschool today, right now, or it's not going to happen. We're not getting that same expression on today at all on the concerns of the CO2. It's just, well, let's do this, let's do that. As a superintendent, you hold responsibility to all of your employees. You stood here today and questioned every single one of them without accepting accountability for your failed actions on the day of that event as well. It's proven after several discussions, the responsibility isn't going to be taken. However, we also raise our children that every decision they make has a consequence, and there needs to be consequences for the actions that took place on that day, and the failed communication and things like that. I think this is more serious than most people know. I don't think many of the board members today have kids in that building, nor are they working in that building to take it as seriously as it needs to be. And as a board, we're just thinking of the money that can come in from the preschool and other things versus the needed renovations that must take place. The votes need to happen before 2026, before this could happen again, before we hope that the CO2 meters magically make the HVAC system work better. That's buy us 3 more years on something that we've gotten an extra 40 years on already. That's all. Thank you.
You look just like your mom, so I
I'm Jessie Kidder, currently 6773 North M33. There's a lot to say. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of decision makers, a lot of fingers pointing. Most importantly, there's a lot of children in the care of all of us. In your leadership, all of your leadership. As a parent, I failed. I failed to trust this leadership. I grew up in this district. I attended Eastside. I graduated from Sheboygan, class of '01. I chose to come back here with my young family. My daughter is 5 years old. She's in Mrs. Fry's kindergarten. She loves it. But I failed her. I sent her into an environment that I believed was safe. Never in my wildest imaginations, I'm also a certified firefighter, an EMT. I also hold a PhD in education. That I ever believed that I would be putting her in an environment not conducive to her health, well-being, and education. Think about what you're telling parents with this data. This level of carbon dioxide is impacting their ability to learn. It's impacting their ability to behave. What does that do to a young learner? What do you think they're left with? I'm bad at school. I'm a bad kid. I can't pay attention. We've failed our students by opening East Elementary. That's not an environment conducive to learning. That's an environment that's setting children up to not believe in themselves. Can you imagine? Because these levels of carbon dioxide make you feel sleepy, make you act up, there's discipline. The teacher calls you out, pay attention. Maybe it escalates into consequences. How does that set you up for first grade? Do you believe in yourself as a learner? set you up as an educator? How much harder is your day trying to teach students in this environment? It's absolutely unacceptable. And I've looked through the data. I've met one-on-one with Spencer, with Steve, with Deanna, and I appreciate that. And we can all look at the data. Bottom line is, each shouldn't be open. Spencer, you opened this meeting by saying, your priority is the safety and security of our students. If that was true, East Elementary wouldn't be open. We're now in this game of trying to retroactively be proactive in a building we know isn't safe. What can we possibly do in the short term that's going to give me the confidence to send my daughter back into that room? What can we possibly do for our educators to make them feel confident in their already busy days? Overpopulated classrooms with children who are documented to have impacts from these carbon dioxide levels. What can we possibly do to rebuild that? We are retroactively trying to be proactive here. It's inappropriate. It's unacceptable. It's setting up a generation of students to fail. Second of all, there was a breakdown of leadership. There was no emergency plan. There was very little communication. There are no maintenance protocols. In a building we know is sick, a building we know is inadequate, that's unacceptable. What are we possibly going to do about that? That's why you're all convened here tonight. Additionally, Spencer, you said to Steve, why are we testing for that? And Steve wholeheartedly said, because we're testing for everything possible. Have we tested the theory that these sites should be closed? Should we be exploring contingency plans to relocate our students into an environment that sets them up for success? I think so. Furthermore, the lack of staff being properly trained, also unacceptable. Blaming a substitute custodian who didn't know that they should remove snow, absolutely unacceptable. You know where the ventilation is. What are the consequences for that? You talk to them. What about something in writing? What about a protocol that, should you no longer be in your position, is handed off to your successors? If that doesn't sound right, does it? Maybe what sounds right is that we're not using Eastside Elementary as a safe place for students to learn. Again, we are retroactively trying to be proactive. It's too late. The data speaks for itself. We know that this problem has existed. Finally, Spencer, just now, when Deanna was up here, you said, Deanna, didn't you have a scare today? And that really struck me. Because no, Deanna didn't have a scare today. You had a scare today. All of you had a scare today. I had a scare today. This entire room had a scare today. We are all responsible for this. And I would like to see some action on behalf of the board to put together not only emergency plans for indoor air quality emergencies, but contingency plans should East Elementary no longer be fit for students and staff. Because it's very clear by the data, by the students, by the parents, and by staff that this learning environment is not setting anyone up to succeed. I want to thank you all for convening tonight. This is an incredibly important issue that we're certainly not going to let go of. My trust is broken with this district. When I came into the district, I had no idea. Maybe shame on me for not doing my homework, but if you knew this building was inadequate, why wouldn't you educate new families entering your district? Why was there no transparency? Again, our job as parents and learners is to set them up to succeed. And it's very clear that East Elementary is not that environment. Thank you.
My name is Roger Cronk, 5046 Stoll Road in Sheboygan. I was on the board forever, and three times tonight I've heard the word policy, talking about this piece of paper right here. This piece of paper is not policy. It's a recommendation. Do not use the word policy. Does anyone on the school board know what number policy goes to public comment? Thank you. And you don't want to know that, Julie? Because you've taken the classes. And you know. Does anyone else know that that was 2504? Anywhere in that policy say this is a requirement? No. So if you tell us to fill this out, please say it's recommended so we can get back to you. Okay? Also, these questions, there's a spot on our website for the questions that these people who vote for you people ask. If one person out in this crowd asks a question that 10,000 people in this town want to know, it should be on that website with the answer. When is the last time the question and answer was put on our website? March 2023. Has no public people asked a question since March of 2023? Please work on that. There's so many people that have their question answered and not come here and bother you. MESP Class 101. One of the first things they tell you is, when the public is speaking, the people that voted you on and the people that can vote you off, do not get on your cell phone and text. If you don't have time to give us 2 hours of your time a night without getting on your phone and not listening to us, get off the board. Okay? You don't have time to be on the board. If you have time to be on your cell phone, why this lady right here was probably one of the best speakers I've ever seen in my career. A lot of people come here just to complain. That woman had so many good ideas and she articulated it great. I'm hoping that you put that on the website and put the answers so all these people can hear this. Please, keep our children safe, keep our teachers safe, and all of our employees safe. Don't just think East Elementary. You guys have got to think the middle school, intermediate school, and the high school, internet school. Don't just fix East and wait for a disaster to happen in another school. Because you are informed. If a disaster happens in another school, you're informed. Thank you.
My best friend usually picks up my daughter from school because I work. I happened to be up to pick up, and I found out my kid was being exposed to something unsafe. Not just one thing, but multiple things at that moment. My big concern right now is why was the school left unlocked, doors left open, with multiple children? You know how easy an intruder could have came in there? These days, these things happen daily. How are these kindergartners, first graders, second graders supposed to know what to do? Like on Friday night at the meeting, Spencer said that there were 2 teachers per kid, per classroom. That's not enough with the safety concerns for a concerned mother. Also, my kid came home that day telling me she didn't get to wear a coat in her room, classroom. She was freezing. It was below temperature that day. She could have came home, got pneumonia through that. Then you didn't let the teachers inform their students. They were scared that they would lose their jobs for that part. They shouldn't have to feel that way. They should be able to feel that they're able to protect their class students.
I'm Robert Whittier, I'm from 760 Garfield. fact that the superintendent had a third-party mechanical inspection of all the school properties done. East side was found to have air quality equipment outdated and not functioning properly. So, the problem was not addressed as a need, but more of an inconvenience. You know, but it is a problem. Money was used for lots of unessential things, signs, bleachers, weight equipment, playground equipment. Our superintendent was out of line for spending on frivolous things. Money should have been allocated or reallocated to more essential things. Like preserving the health of our children. When this girl's problem developed, the superintendent should have taken air quality seriously. Instead, he came to the school with a volunteer firefighter. Should have taken action, maybe call 911 to get all the most qualified air quality specialists on site immediately. Many teachers and students were affected. They actually sought medical treatment. Many went to the emergency room. Our superintendent has a history of incompetence. It's proven he is incapable of handling the duties of the job. Therefore, our superintendent should resign or be removed. Thank you.
I'll speak at public comment. Fill this out. I'm Jamie in the clinic. I was left 13 days before my wedding with a 1-month-old baby, and I had to move back home. There were no teaching jobs, so I was an aide at East Elementary. Then I got a teaching job finally. Then I moved to the intermediate school, and then I came back to East Elementary as a coaching position. I think the air quality has been a concern for, I've been there for 17 years, for a very long time. I just want to say that, yes, we have places that we can improve, but nobody was looking at this before Spencerburg came into the district. So, I mean, we've made progress, and we're gonna make improvements. But I just wanted to say that it's been a problem for 2 decades at least. So we'll get there. already been started, was started immediately, and as we continue from here. The next thing on our agenda is a board president report. I decided that I thought that would be an important thing to do for our board so that we had some time to discuss. If you look on the NSA's website, and they do have, there is a sample agenda that didn't include the president report, so I thought it would be a good thing to start. We did start new, so I'm just going to go through this list quickly. We did start committees, and what I want everyone to remember is that there's a maximum of 3 board members in any board committee at any time. We cannot have more than that even in the room, so whenever we have board committees, there should only be 3. And the role of committees is to keep the board informed, to maintain a balanced budget. The policy of our district should guide our decisions. And we do a very good job of this within our committees. Having committees ensures that we are informed as board members, and also that we are achieving the goals that are in our strategic plan, which safety is in our. The other thing is, also when you reply to an email, I had some confusion myself about this. I did, actually about both of these things, the committees and that. I did contact the MASB lawyer and get some clarification over this. So board members can send out an email to all board members, but board members may not reply, except for to just reply, not reply all. Because we cannot have a conversation more than 3 board members, even in an email. The next thing, and the best way to reply is to never use the reply all function and make it a good habit of just going reply. Also, coming up is a spring institute that any board members that wish to go to that, you're welcome to check that out and sign up for it. It's in person. It is May 2nd through the 25th, or 2nd, that'd be a long one, wouldn't it? May 2nd through May 4th. And you can find the details on that at masb.org. Just search Spring Institute. I should ask for questions at this point, probably, so in case we're going to have. Okay. All right, the next thing I had on the superintendent evaluation. Back in October, we did pass a motion to go with the schedule of October, March, May, and July. As so month at our March meeting, we will have the mid-year evaluation. Spencer will give a brief update at each of our meetings of your superintendent report, which we're going to add onto the next agenda. On the back of this, I just put all the committee members. If you are not able, all the committees can be on each team, and if you, which board members are on each team, I should clarify that. And then you should make sure if you are not able to go there, that you contact the chair so that they can give a replacement for you. You can have these reports. Any questions? Any discussion about anything that you can bring up? So, next thing. Pardon?
Could I request a 5-minute recess? I make a motion to take a 5-minute recess so we can stretch and use that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So there's a motion. Motion made by Beth, supported by Rich. Leanne? Do a roll call. Darcia?
Yes.
Richard Seeler?
Yes.
Julie Lewis? Yes. Anna Marchek?
Yes.
Yes. So we will reconvene at 8:20. discussion? Dan?
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Richard Huon,
Yes.
Julie Lewis,
Yes.
Pat Malarchuk,
Yes.
Deborah Duer.
Yes.
The next thing on our agenda is the hiring of Jason Raymond as special education teacher at the high school. I need a motion to approve the hiring of Jason Raymond as a special education teacher at the high school.
Okay, can I interrupt? Jason, are you here? Oh, can we, Marty, you want to introduce him real quick? Just,
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's an honor to bring someone like Jason into the Sheboygan Area District. And he is top-notch with special education, mathematics, computer information systems. The guy's a real deal. Sheboygan's getting the gem out of him, so it's an honor to bring
And
him
he's
on board.
going to be doing special education
Yes.
for us, which is like trying to find a unicorn, right?
Yes.
This is happening.
Yes. Yeah. We found our unicorn for sure. He's amazing, so it's a huge honor to be able to host him.
Well, welcome to the school district. Thank you.
Welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
Jason, put you on the spot. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I taught in an SCI classroom with COP for a few years, and in an MOCI classroom in Illinois, which is where I met Marty and some other fine folks. And then the past 5 years, I taught middle school math, and now I'm trying to make my way north to be with my family. My wife teaches high school science here. All my kids will be here. So now, next year, the family gets to head north, rather than send them north and send me south. Which will be great, to have everyone together and be better dad, husband, teacher, all unified in this place.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you.
Okay, I still need that motion for all my. The motion made by Deborah and supported by Matt.
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Richard Huon,
Yes.
Julie Lewis,
Yes.
Pat Malarchuk,
Yes.
Deborah Duer.
Yes.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the curriculum committee. Committee report by me, if I had it on my paperwork, oh, here it is, perfect. Right where it belongs. Okay. We had a curriculum committee meeting on February 18th. And the first thing on our agenda was CTE report from Ryan McClintock. And all the programs must be state certified and approved. And the key questions that they have to address when they are adding new programs is the curriculum liability, facilities and equipment, student interest and enrollment, funding budget, and impact on our programs. The current programs have 300 of our CTE programs. There are 300 male students taking it and 223 female students included in our CTE courses. 4 out of the 8 programs have more girls enrolled in them than boys. Committee, we have to check we're just making sure that we are servicing male and female students equally. Committees and funding efforts. Ryan is participating in a steering committee to guide decision-making. A possible millage vote in November, led by J.D. Huber, could generate approximately $500,000 for the district specifically for CTE. Currently, our CTE programs are funded through general funds and some grants. Future programs that are being thought of are James Lavinier, a current teacher and certified instructor, is also a local firefighter. So they are the initial doing a firefighter EMS class. They would like to. They're in the planning stages for the 26-27 construction trades, if we can find an instructor who would teach wood an hour or two of construction in the future. We haven't had that in several years because the teacher we had retired. We are looking into a cosmetology as a potential future program. We have a meeting next week. Is there a date? I know, the date changed from this.
Yeah, I think it's, I'll double check on Wednesday.
Okay, so next week, Monday, we are having a meeting with a potential program where the person has a cosmetology license to teach, and we're trying to see if that program would be something that we can put into place. However, all of the things that I'm told we have to go through many hoops by the state in order to make that happen. So it may take a year or two. Next, we had a union presentation by Lake and Michelle Chase. They are requesting some help for some. Thank you. They're requesting some compensation for the days that it will take to move the school, or second grade goes up and seventh grade goes up. Right now, it is just a proposal, and it has to complete negotiations prior to coming to the board. There was a curriculum update. We talked about the resources that are needed, ELAs in 7-12, supplies for STEAM. In 28, we are going to need to buy a K-12, we are going to have to look at our K-12 math, and in 29, we will have to look at our K-6 ELA, so we need to make sure that the fundings are there for those things. We're starting standardized grading in some grade levels. Ben plans to expand standards-based grading to second and third grade next year. This approach aligns with ongoing curriculum work, ensuring instruction is responsive to standards and student learning. By focusing on what students know and can do, we can better address individual needs and improve student achievement. Curriculum resources. In 7-12 ELA, current textbooks and novels are deteriorating. That's why we're looking at those right now instead of waiting for ELA to come back up through our cycle. Materials are being ordered to support teachers in aligning instruction with standards. STEAM and science, additional funding is needed for consumable supplies. We talked about different ways to get those supplies to teachers that they need to teach STEAM and science. Future resource replacements, the K-6 ELA and Algebra 2 math materials will be replaced in 2029. 2029 ELA and 2029 math. Next, we talked about the April PD. Title II is a grant that funds professional learning opportunities for certified staff. Attending conferences often costs thousands of dollars, and one of the grant requirements is that participants bring back and share what they've learned with this district. They need to come back and share with the district what they've learned. Some staff feel uncomfortable doing that and do not want to stop that from them going to the conferences. So thinking of out of the box ways to have them present in a team with another person or have someone else present them. But the information that they get at conferences needs to come back to the district, and we are planning a day in spring, correct? In spring to do that. There was no public comment at our meeting. We adjourned. We meet monthly. If you ever have any concerns about the curriculum, feel free to contact me, Jamie, or the next thing on the agenda is...
Yay, my very favorite thing is data. I'm the curriculum director of the state federal programs director here at the district. Do a little bit here data. So tonight we're going to talk about NWEA. NWEA is a nationally normed assessment that students take 3 times a year. There are also screeners, formative and summative assessments happening within the classroom, state assessments that tells us how we're doing compared to other districts in our state. And our whole goal for all of this is to get students college and career ready. Tonight we're going to talk about NWEA data. We're going to start with math. I did some highlighting here and I'll explain that. So here's our fall column, here's our winter column, and our spring column. The first column is the norm. So in 2015, NWEA did a national norming study, and that is the average or the norm for the entire nation. So we can look at how Sheboygan Area Schools compares to the national norm. If the number is green, it means that we are at or above the national norm. If it's yellow, it means that we're just under by a point or less. And if it's white, it means we're under more than a point, but in a lot of cases, we're still very, very close. So that's a great thing to see. In the winter, some really exciting things happened. Our first grade moved from being just below to above. Our second grade went from being a few more points below to above the norm. Our third grade did the same thing, and so did our 7th grade. Now, this year, because of exams, we did not test our 8th through 12th grades. So you'll see that we don't have test scores there. The thing I'm most excited about is I like to study our growth. So the norm growth for kindergarten is 10 and 5700ths. We exceeded that by quite a bit. And so as you can see, we exceeded the norm growth. So we're growing more than the national norm growth. There will be new norms coming out, hopefully pretty soon, 25 or 26, probably 26 at this point. Because remember too, these are pre-pandemic norms. So that's also very exciting that we got through the pandemic and we're still making such great growth. Now, to give you a little background, in mathematics, right now we're doing curriculum development. We're building guaranteed and viable curriculum. So I wasn't exactly expecting all this green, because usually when you're monkeying around with your curriculum, you tend to go back a little bit. But this is extremely promising, and it's exciting, because I know our teachers are working super, super, super hard, and they're amazing. Talking faster than breathing. I'm so excited to get my data. They're working really well, and so now with our guaranteed viable curriculum, we just want to calibrate it, and we meet every month to calibrate and to continuously respond to the data to increase student achievement. So it looks like our work is working, which is super exciting. And then we have ELA, still doing really good here. You can see our kindergarten's above the norm. Our 1st and 2nd grade are just a little bit below the norm. Nothing too earth-shattering. We have our 3rd grade who was just below the norm, and now they're above the norm. We were consistent with being above the norm in 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. And 7th grade, we're just a tiny bit below the norm here. But I'm confident that we'll come back up. And you can see our norm increases are right there. Does the board have, and then there are graphs that will send this all to you. If you want to see it in picture form, it's even more exciting, and we'll be here forever. So if you, I'll send it to you. If you have any questions for me. Thank you for your time. That's the first time I've had anybody clap for my data.
want to see those beautiful colors on that blue, just click on those blue words and you will go into the data. And it's beautiful. All right, so the next thing. Our next section is stable finance, and we have a finance and building and grounds update by Matt.
Okay, so first thing we talked about was the financial software update that the district supervisor, Mark from Arlene and Laura, the stuff they use. We're currently working to get that set up and scheduled. The previous, current one we're using is getting sunset, and so it's no longer going to be a viable option. And so this was the one that they thought was best, so that's what we're going with. We talked about just some of the personnel postings. We filled one of them tonight. Some of the other ones, I think we'll hopefully get filled here a little bit for some of the coaching positions. And I know, I think they're still looking for a few of the other ones that were on there that have been, I think they're posted online now. We had the Inverness showers that are being put in out here, and all the design work's done, so they're going to be going out to bid pretty soon for those. With, I believe they're going to get those done this summer, is the plan for installing a shower for boys and girls bathroom for students out here. Next, we had a gentleman from Prime Painting come. He's going to be repainting the intermediate middle school over spring break. He's going to do the front entranceway and the cafeteria, trying to eliminate the pale pink or red colors, whatever you want to call it, and kind of give it more of a refresh with our school colors. And then he's going to, I think, try to do the gym, possibly during the school year, like at nights is when you do that. Won't take him a super long time, so he proposed was kind of to do those two during spring break will be done in the cafeteria and the front entranceway and something like that. So he thought that would be probably the worst thing to do. So the track update, that should hopefully get put in the fall. I think they've got to do a few things once the snow melts, as far as surveying it and getting a few samples, soil samples, but I think that is the plan, possibly when we do the tennis court out in front there, which was part of those were part of the bond that we passed. So those are a couple of things that hopefully will be done maybe in the fall. A couple of the other things
anybody here to speak? Steve Vaughn?
Right here.
Steve, could you just tell us why we're doing this and what, like, we're doing an update, right? To the cameras.
Okay, I didn't hear the question.
For the cameras, we're doing the update to the cameras, so, why are we doing this? So, I have the bid, and so I just want to make sure everybody understands the need for it.
100% safety driven.
Okay.
The current camera system has issues, correct? So I think that's why and I don't think we're not getting a brand new camera system. We're keeping some, we're losing some, we're adding some, right? So swapping some out, right, Steve?
Yes, yeah, because the cameras, we're gonna displace the cameras in the high school to other places in the district, like this building and some other dead spots that we have.
Okay. Because I know, Marty, you've had concern about the cameras since you started. You don't.
A perfect example would be like if somebody comes through the parking lot, you wouldn't be able to pick up the license plate off the current ones that we have. But the upgrade, you'd be able to zoom in all the way up to almost the exit part on the driveway and still be able to pick up those license plate. So can help with some safety features. And actually there are going to be more into the building too, so it's going to eliminate some blind spots.
Any questions from the board? Okay, we have a motion on the table made by Travis, and I need a second. Further discussion? Leanne?
Travis Scott?
Yes.
Richard Peeler?
Yes.
Julie Keela?
Yes.
Matt Horacek?
Yes.
Zimmer?
Yes. Okay, the next thing is strong communications on our agenda, and I have that community update on that.
All right, we got a bunch of stuff from the athletic committee. We got a couple new hires. Jordan Barrett, his former JV coach, is now going to be the head varsity volleyball coach. Excited for her. Ainsley McLean is a 4-year All-State athlete. She runs a 26th platoon group, and she's the daughter of a teacher here. She's going to be the new girls head varsity track coach. We're excited about that as well. Larry McKay, who's been involved with athletics and specifically track for several years, is now going to be the head boys coach. We talked about AEDs. We are limited on where we have placement of those in athletic facilities, specifically where the track is, where the baseball and softball fields are. So we went through different details about how we can have an AED available out there. We need one outside rather than in the concession stand with coffee, and if it's practice or something going on, we can't get to it. So we got through some details about how we're going to do that. We think we can use maybe 31 AA funds to cover it. Enrollment-wise, we're still decreasing. We went from 462 to 441. We're going down pretty much every year with that for the past 15 years. Increasing enrollment has been a big concern of ours, specifically in the athletic department, the athletic committee. And our thoughts have been facility upgrades, personnel upgrades. Get great people they want to play for and be taught by, get great places to be and do things, and have great people in the community working for that for sure. The EMC program and newly proposed pre-K program should increase our enrollment by 60 just with that. So that should bring us up as well, and that's around $10,000 per student, so $600,000 of money coming in. That'll help as well. Student access to games, a guy named Matt Horton suggested providing all students with a pass to attend all games for the season. This would require a sign up at the beginning of the school year. Looking at that still, there's consideration of maybe just doing it as we would reduce what it costs the student to get in, so it costs less. We have not made that determination yet. In either case, we can't really put anything in place until the beginning of next school year, so we've got a little time to figure out what we want to do there. We're also talking about how students in season should be paying to go anywhere. We like it when a kid goes to practice and then goes and watches another team play. Obviously, that's something that's beneficial. We want to be involved in that if we can be. The junior chiefs confirmed that we are permitted to use Gordon Turner Park, but we will be responsible for maintaining facilities. That's perfectly reasonable. We've got the personnel to do that, among the coaching staff, etc. Parents will try to help as well. We would also need to use their nets, which would be our responsibility to manage. So we should be able to get that done. Timing system, as we're redoing the track, there's a clock there. doesn't really fill our current needs. Jason Friday suggested a new timing system that would make it easier for us to host track meets. It would also help our soccer games. Pretty cool system. We're looking into that and decide exactly what we want to do. But Jason will be involved in the design team meeting when discussions begin, when the changes start happening in the spring. We have a Zoom call with the schedule with the company that is going to bid for the new basketball floor. It's a pretty cool design that Jason picked out, and the latex-based product actually costs less and it's easier to maintain than a standard stained wood. It's going to be a pretty cool design. You guys will like it. Let's see. The design for the conference logos and team championship banners is still underway. Once that's completed, we'll have them up on the gym wall. Football schedule. We do have a week 8 schedule now. That's a game against Fowlerville. They're down by Lansing. Pretty good matchup for us. Excited about seeing what they can do and we can do with them. We're also talking about having that game at a neutral site. We're going to be looking into Alma College, or perhaps, is it DeWitt? What's the school that you're putting that on? Ithaca High School. Also a very nice facility, so we're looking for something kind of in the middle, which would be pretty fun. Practice hoop install, if you guys aren't aware, the way that the gym is set up now, the game baskets are here, and then the practice baskets are on the same side. Standard is that they go across the court. This is for space and able to put 2 courts on two games on the floor at the same time. So we have finalized that. They're going to be installed Thursday or Friday before spring break. Move them around, new basket setups with a far better controller system. So not to use a key or anything crazy like that. It's just a touchpad. Very, very necessary upgrade. Started looking into putting field turf on the softball and baseball fields. We met with a rep from actual AstroTurf. That's actually a company. They still exist. They're the original people who were doing that. They started at the Astrodome in Houston. We're looking at the dollars for that. The reason why we're looking into it is strictly maintenance. I mean, where the baseball and softball fields are, a lot of water, a lot of drainage issues, especially being as it's a spring sport. I mean, you can't be shoveling snow in the morning and playing in the afternoon, whereas if we had turf, we could do that. Strictly for maintenance. The cost, looking at like $1.6 million for the baseball field and about $600,000 for the softball field. Not sure if we can swing that, but again, we're just looking at investigating what might be a good move for us. Also looking to find sponsors to offset that. So we were talking about Pulte, who big construction company that's working on the paper mill area, their multi-use facility, retail, some shopping, and things like that. We're thinking if we get a hold of them, they might be amenable to giving us half or more. We'll call it Pulte Field. Everybody seems pretty amenable to that. If we can get somebody else to pay for it, why not? Also looking at the same thing for the baseball field. Potentially looking at, what's the name of the gas company? Enbridge, who can always looking for some positive PR here in the community with their gas lines. Thought maybe they might be able to help out, not sure. Our concern is, of course, that's a substantial investment and spring season's short. It would take some time to get it back based on maintenance, but we might not be able to maintain the maintenance that we have. And there's no other schools up here who have that, which is also, it's a positive and a negative. We're the only ones who have a turf, baseball, and softball field. Now we're hosting all the clinics, now we're hosting all the camps. Now we got lots more students coming in and seeing our facilities and wanting to enjoy it. So that helps us too at, like I mentioned, $10,000 a kid. Last item. The armory in town is for sale. They're asking $1.25 million. As a gym, classes, kitchen, etc. It'd be beneficial to look into that and see if we could maybe do something there. What it would give us at least is an auxiliary gym, some classroom space, a high-level kitchen facility. We thought maybe we could offset some of the costs by being able to rent that out at night as a facility for banquets, wedding receptions, things like that, because it is pretty impressive. We also talked about turfing that gym. So having removable pieces of turf that we could put in there and basically have an indoor turf facility to use for all sports, which facilities-wise would help us a lot. Let's see. At $1.25 million, it doesn't sound like a good deal, but to build that building today would probably be $10 million to schedule the meeting. We were gonna go see it last week, but then the Easton Elementary School thing happened, we weren't able to get there to see the assignment yet. So again, very much at the beginning of that process, we'll see how it goes, but that's it for athletics.
Any questions for Travis? Okay, I need a motion to approve the hiring of George Barrett as the varsity volleyball head coach, Ainsley McLean as varsity girls track coach, Larry McKay as boys varsity track coach.
I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Travis and supported by Matt. Any further discussion? And
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Richard Seelon,
Yes.
Julie LaHila,
yes.
Van Wondercheck,
Yes.
Rose Peters,
Yes.
Okay, we are back to council comment, recognition of citizens, limit 5 minutes per speaker. Is there anyone else who would like to speak about something other than this elementary? Yeah, that's not included. You have is it there? Okay.
So I would like to address the board is, I so believe this young lady here, what she said about safety and trust, I'm so behind her because on February 4th, my grandson fell at school, never got notified. He called his mother. He then within 2 hours was airlifted to DeVos. He has had many angiographs, if anybody realizes what that is, he's been put under. He's had the brain surgery from here to here. We got tons of text messages while we were down there the whole time from the community, from other mothers and other parents. I said to my daughter and my son-in-law, we're not going to listen to all this, wait till we get home. Let's go to the school, give them the benefit of the doubt, and find out what really happened. Because our neurologist, doctor down there, said this just was not a simple fall and hit the back of his head. So since we've been home, we've heard multiple stories from the school. I want to clear up one thing right now to this board. This did not happen at hockey. It happened in the school on a recess. It is not hereditary. It isn't the hockey team boys that did this, which we were told. We, from the school, have heard so many different stories. And now we're trying to pursue getting him the care he needs. But the neurologist needs to know what truly happened. So when we try to see the tapes, we're told we're not allowed to see them. So I'm asking you as a board to help my grandson. Do I have to hire a lawyer to see the tapes, to give the neurologist what they need for information and how this accident happened? We're not out seeking nothing from anybody. And I'm so for teachers. I'm the only nurse. My whole family, granddaughters and grandchildren and nieces and nephews and sisters, they're all teachers. All of us public school. So I'm not out to get anybody. I'm out to help my grandson. And if by any chance it was a case of bullying, then that needs to be corrected. But my most important point today is my grandson and the honesty of the school. We want to know what happened. Would you not want to know that from your children if it was your child or your grandchild? What do I need to do so that we as a family can see these tapes? If it's truly, truly, like we're told, he's involved, and it was a case of rough playing, why it was allowed to continue rough playing, then, okay, show us the tapes. We're okay with that. But this not being honest, I'm not okay with it. So I'm addressing you as a board, as a parent, as a grandparent, wasn't even told about it. It's like, wait a minute, is it mean your school checks on things for the school? Your police officer or whoever follows through on this? Why is he not, he was approached at a hockey game by a hockey player because one of her kids got his recess taken away. So we're told down there like surgery, kids up here are losing their recess. But then we get back here and say, oh, nothing happened, everything's fine. Why these boys lose their recess? Let's be honest.
I will have the appropriate people contact.
I would appreciate it because, I mean, I'm going to go as far as I got to go to get him the proper care. And get him the proper care from a neurologist. He needs to know it. Thank you.
You're fine, Aaron.
Eric Hall, 6869 Chippewa Trail. I was just taking notes on what Travis was saying about the athletic committee update and about the AstroTurf. And I think I got the numbers correct. There was a baseball field with 1.6 million, softball field
1.46, so it's two total.
for both the softball, okay, and then the 1.25 mil for the armory.
That's what they're asking.
Okay, so we're looking at potentially raising some funds or using some funds to pay for that, correct?
And again, these meetings happened before the East Elementary.
Okay, well, I'm just wondering what it would look like if we AstroTurf these things, bought an armory, but didn't update the HVAC system before that happened. So I just think it's important that we gotta look at optics here. I don't want a beautiful field, I'd rather have a healthy HVAC system. So I just wanna make sure that that's clarified.
Yes, yeah, you are correct, Eric.
Okay.
That is, right now, there's not any talk about funding this project. There's just been people looking into what it costs for this project. Right now, there is no money earmarked for this project.
Okay.
So as Travis mentioned, what some folks that have been talking with the athletic committee, not the athletic committee, a lot of this is talking about fundraising money for that. But you are definitely correct that this is a low priority, and there is no funding earmarked or allocated for this idea right now. It is strictly an idea.
So it's not from the bond at all? It's not
Oh,
from the
no.
bond.
This is just I'm talking about the future, like future. But right, I mean, we can't do anything without money. There is no money, bond money or anything else earmarked to that. So sorry. Just want to make sure.
No,
That was a good point.
No, I should have opened with that.
Yeah, definitely. I just have one more point. I guess I can go back up to the podium. Travis, your comments about athletics were exciting. You know, we had engaged, obviously, Superintendent Byrd is a big sports fan. We had to chat about that when we met. I'm also a big sports person who played college hockey. My kids play various sports. Interesting association I just made here. We're looking to grow the district. We want to pump up athletics. We want to improve our facilities, make it look attractive. That's awesome. I could get behind that. That would make me want to stick around. But it's also interconnected. You have elementary schools, you want to make a preschool. Nothing makes a kid more excited to play a varsity sport than to come up through that district. So I'm glad you pointed it out because everybody in the audience was wondering. We're talking about the Pulte fields. Well, how about a Pulte Elementary School? I'm kidding. I don't think that would be necessary, but let's look at our investments and let's look at the interconnectedness because the health of our youngest students ultimately leads to the health of our district as they populate the varsity teams. So I appreciate your enthusiasm and hopefully you can connect the dots that the health and well-being of our most vulnerable student populations kind of aggregates to the health and well-being of the varsity teams. So it's really exciting to watch that come together. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Have we got those ones?
Yeah, I would say yes.
next steps. I was able to pursue a degree in nursing at our community college and a health-focused CTE program to help set up students to pursue those types of things faster and pique their interest sooner. We need more healthcare professionals, so I just wanted to rally for that for a moment. And I did forget to mention that in researching, I did find that, well, Michigan lacks regulation on school air quality. It does